The following audio drama contains mature themes and content some listeners may find upsetting. Listener discretion is advised.
Storm Demeter hit Brighton like a schoolyard bully smacking a small child straight in the face. Violent gales hissed and wailed, spewing rain down upon the seaside city, whilst banshee-like winds cracked glass and tossed about bins with chaotic abandon. Demeter's monstrous shrieking was so loud, and so sudden, that the barking of a 12-gauge shotgun could easily have been mistaken for just another thunderous crack over the ruinous storm. "Maeve!" Ellie screamed, tearing down the apartment's stone steps, with Sabini trailing behind her. "Be careful, kid," the Nosferatu called after La Sombra. "We've got no idea what's still lurking out here." Elvira sprinted towards the seafront in furious strides, barreling over to where a charred mound of ash and blackened bone was being tossed about by Demeter's unrelenting winds. "No, no, 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 no," Ellie babbled and wailed, crashing to her knees before the scorched remains of Maeve Anderson. While Storm Demeter descended on Brighton, Ellie grasped at the crumbling skull of her sire, that broke apart into onyx dust and poured through her fingers. "I'm sorry," she heaved, feeling as if she were about to throw up. "Oh God, Maeve, I'm so sorry. Please, 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 please don't be gone." Sabini grabbed hold of Ellie, and at first she tried to fight his grasp, but soon she found herself crumpling up against him, crimson tears streaking down her cheeks. "I'm so fucking sorry, kid," the Nosferatu whispered, as he pulled Ellie into a tight embrace. "I really fucking am." Vampire the Masquerade, Blood Brides of Brighton. Episode 3, The Darkest of Lies. Nerissa ducked to one side, narrowly dodging the rainbow-coloured chair that Nyx had flung off of Revenge's rooftop bar. "That bitch!" the Nosferatu hissed. "She took her from me. That was my kill. You promised me Cathcart." Suddenly, the monster's excessively hideous face was mere inches away from the Tremors, and her rancid stink flooded Nerissa's nostrils. "An unfortunate turn of events, I admit," Cathcart mumbled, "but not unsalvageable." Nyx let out a vicious snarl. "Maeve Anderson is dead!" she spat. "But only we know who killed her, thanks to Mr. North's prying eyes," the Tremere responded. "Ludovici doesn't know that Jezebel is responsible, and neither does Anderson's idiot child. Crowley is still ripe for the taking. And is she not as responsible for your fate as Maeve was?" Nyx pulled back slightly, gnashing her misshapen teeth together. "What are you suggesting?" she asked with a primal growl. "Mr. North is very much in our pocket," Nerissa explained. "As far as the rest of the Camarilla knows, Maeve could have been killed by hunters, or Enochs, or another force entirely. That child Elvira will want revenge, and it will be all too easy for us to point her in another direction. Your own child is part of her coterie, is he not?" Nyx nodded slowly. "Sabini will do as I tell him," she grunted. "He is the least disobedient of my child." A whisper of a smile flitted across Nerissa's lips. "Then we use sleight of hand and send the La Sombra rushing down whatever rabbit hole we please," Primogen Cathcart explained. "You can exact your revenge on Crowley, and then, when the time is right, destroy Anderson's precious little fledgling." Nyx let out a gravelly titter of excitement. "Our arrangement stands, then," the Nosferatu spat. so long as I can dish out the justice you promised me. You shall have all that and more, Primogen Nix, Cathcart grinned. When I am prince, you'll find this unlife a great deal more to your liking. For now, Nerissa Cathcart would play whatever games she must, and humour the petulant pawns, so long as she still had need of them. It was true that the Camarilla was a tower, and Cathcart would step on whoever she needed to climb to the top of the ivory tower's rungs. Ellie and Sabini wound their way through the Malmason Hotel, surrounded by stylishly designed corridors adorned with warm white lights. As the pair neared the hotel's rooftop restaurant, where they were due to meet the prince, the Nosferatu gently grasped hold of one of Ellie's soft arms and guided her off to the side. "I know you're pissed, Ellie," he explained. "And fuck it, I'm pissed too, but we need to be really careful about how we play this." The La Sombra's eyes narrowed with simmering rage. "Maeve is dead, Sterling," she snapped, "and now you're telling me to act like I'm tiptoeing on eggshells." Sabini let out a heavy sigh. "Elysium isn't a joke, kid," he told her. "Ludovisi may pretend she's on your side, but she will constantly be looking for any opportunity to exploit you and twist you to her will. Every slippery harpy and preening Primogen is brandishing a knife that they can't wait to plunge deep into your back. If we play the game properly, then we can spin this whole rotten situation to our advantage. But if we fuck this up, then our goose is utterly fucking cooked." "I'm not here to play a game, Sabini," Ellie growled, her fangs extending from her gums. "I'm here to find out who killed my friend." Sterling Sabini grunted with frustration, his warped brow tightly furrowing. "Ellie, you need to listen to what I'm saying," he said firmly. "No matter how angry you are, you need to show the prince respect, and you need to tread very fucking carefully. If you want the Camarilla's help in catching Maeve's killer, then we have to dance to their tune. Whatever the prince says to you, you've got to bury that anger deep within you and let nothing slip through the facade. Disrespect is not tolerated, and the Ivory Tower aren't the sort to give second chances. Do you understand what I'm saying?" Conjuring up every ounce of strength within her body, Ellie just about managed to swallow her fury and digest what the Nosferatu was explaining. "I understand," she snarled through gritted teeth. "Stand up straight and speak when spoken to." Sabini let out a sharp laugh. "You might just survive this yet, kid." William Sims was in a foul mood. A night of booze and cocaine left him feeling as if his body was full of jittering rats. And now his useless skank of a girlfriend wouldn't open the goddamn door. "You promised me it was the last fucking time, Billy!" Crystal's shouts were muffled by the heady oak door which sat between them. "You fucking promised! You fucking promised!" "What the hell are you shrieking about, woman?" Sims growled, the pounding headache in his skull beating as if it were a drum being smashed by a deranged lunatic on speed. "Open the fucking door already!" "Poppy saw you at Gorgon, you piece of shit!" Crystal called back. "She said you had your tongue in some whore's mouth all bloody night." "Poppy's a lying bitch!" Sims snarled furiously, already far from past his wit's end. "You know she stirs shit just for kicks." So what if he'd had a little fun with a couple of horny students? Couldn't a man enjoy himself on a night out? He blamed the internet. It was poisoning women's minds and filling their tiny brains with feminist crap. "I've had enough of your lies, Constable Sims," came the enraged reply. "I don't want to see your sorry mug ever again." Billy banged his fist against the door with all the might and rage of a feral ape. "Open the bloody door right now before I—" Just then, Sim's phone began to ring. William clenched his fists and exhaled out through his nose before answering the call. "The fuck is it?" he snapped. The icy voice of Reggie Warren crackled out of his mobile. Constable Sims, I hope I haven't caught you at a bad time. Sims' whole body went cold with terror. No, not at all, Mr. Warren, he babbled. What can I do for you? Not over the phone. Usual place. 2 hours. Warren said curtly. I'll see you soon, Mr. Warren, the constable replied, almost instantly. Good. And Sims? Reggie's distorted reply crinkled through the phone. Yes, Mr. Warren? Speak to me like that again, and my men will break your kneecaps. The call went dead. Suddenly, Constable Sims wasn't worried about Crystal anymore. Grey Ludovisi sat alone at the heart of the rooftop bar, beneath an enormous parasol which shielded her from the spitting rain. She may have held the title of prince, but Ludovisi looked like a queen perched upon her throne. Ludovisi was a terrifying sight to behold, so ferociously beautiful that Ellie felt as if she had entered into a cage with a ravenous tigress. Long tresses of golden hair were her crown, and the magnificent purple dress she was garbed in was her armor. Fledgling Elvira, the pale woman said in a cold, uncompassionate voice. I was saddened to hear of your sire's final death. She was a useful part of my court. Please accept my condolences. Ellie felt her skin itching, as if she had been flung into a vat of sizzling acid. There wasn't so much as a hint of emotion in the prince's voice, but the La Sombra knew that she was expected to grovel at the feet of her betters. That's very gracious of you, your highness. The kindred bowed her head to Ludovisi. I thank you for your kind words. It was Sabini's turn to speak up. Elvira and I were hoping to petition you for your help in bringing Maeve's killer to justice, your highness, he told the prince. Maeve's murder is a flagrant violation of the Sixth tradition and an insult to your rule. A look of obvious displeasure settled on Ludovisi's elegant features. I am well aware of the laws which govern our society, Sabini, she snapped. I do not need you to explain the traditions to me, as if I am some empty-headed infant. Ellie felt a flash of anger sizzling in her chest, but she tempered her emotions and forced them back down into her stomach. Prince Ludovisi slipped her long fingers together, her eyes slowly tracing over every inch of the La Sombra's form. As I am sure you understand, fledgling Elvira, I have a great many matters that need my attention, and much of my time is eaten up with carefully balancing the resources at my disposal. Ludovisi's voice remained icy and devoid of emotion. Mr. North had reported that your sire's destruction happened out of the view of any of the city's security cameras, and there were no witnesses, so we are very much working in the dark. The Camarilla has no agents or assets to dictate to investigating Maeve's killer. It took everything in Ellie's power to stop herself from leaping across the rooftop and throttling that stuck-up French bitch. She wanted to scream, she wanted to break things with her fists, and she wanted to smash Ludovisi's perfect fucking teeth in. However, the prince continued, there's an individual operating within Brighton, whom my subordinates have contacted, that has agreed to help you track down your sire's murderer. Thank you, your highness, Sabine quickly chimed in, once it became clear that Ellie was too busy swallowing her own anger to say anything. You are to make contact with Valentina Owens. She is an independent investigator, whose services we have employed in the past, Ludovisi explained. Together you will gather evidence and find out who killed Maeve. I want to make it explicitly clear that you are under no circumstances to take Camarilla law into your own hands. Once you have built a case, you are to report back to Elysium, where the court and I will review your evidence before making a decision. My ruling will be utterly and unquestionably final. Do you understand? Ellie nodded. I understand, Your Highness. The blackness of night turned the usually crisp white Seven Sisters a gloomy shade of grey. Last evening's howling storm had been tempered into a soft drizzle, sputtering down upon the grassy cliff top where Jezebel Crowley stood. Dark sea stretched out for as far as the eye could see, soaring up the horizon in its inky black morn. You are making my unlife so much harder than it needs to be, Crowley. Jezebel let out a pompous snort, turning to face Nerissa Cathcart. The old woman's blocky face was framed by a ring of deep brown curls, and she was garbed in a long raincoat, which possessed a gloomy mahogany colour. I don't give a shit what you promised that stinking fucking sewer rat, Jezebel chuckled. I saw my opportunity to take out Maeve, and I took it. I don't work for you, you fucking blood thief. Crowley had hoped to annoy Cathcart, but she was frustrated when Nerissa replied with an expressionless stare, her body language betraying not even the faintest sign of irritation. You sound more and more like a Sabbat shovelhead with each passing night. Nerissa's voice was as detached as if she was discussing the weather. But that's never stopped you turning to a vile usurper like me for help. Jezebel snarled, her fangs unsheathing, while she lunged at the arrogant Tremere bitch. As much as she wanted to descend upon Nerissa and tear her fucking head off, Crowley suddenly found herself locked in place, every inch of her frozen, as if she was made from immutable ice. It was as if control of Jezebel's body had been snatched away from her. You can keep on insisting on these childish displays of rage, and I will keep on reminding you why my clan are not so easily startled, Crowley, Nerissa said firmly. The Zamisi could not destroy us. The Salubri could not destroy us. The Banu Hakim could not destroy us. We may be despised, but we are feared in equal measure. The warlock waved one hand, and Jezebel's movements returned to her. She stumbled over sodden grass, hissing and spitting, but keeping her distance from Nerissa. Maeve Anderson is dead, Jezebel snarled. I don't need you anymore. You have greater ambitions than revenge, Crowley, Nerissa said with an ever-so-faint smile. Or else you wouldn't have agreed to meet with me. Jezebel loathed the arrogant old bitch and her entire stodgy clan, but she couldn't deny there was truth in those words. What can you offer me then, Nerissa? The Canaanite forced herself to ask, pushing back against the boiling fury which threatened to explode out of her. I'm glad you asked, the warlock grinned. Sterling Sabini found Ellie not far from the front of the hotel, taking shelter in a filthy alleyway, which was shielded from the soft pitter-patter of raindrops. His shoes clattered against the pavement, rainwater dampening his socks and filling them with a bitter cold. You handled yourself really well in there, kid, the Nosferatu said with a gentle smile. I know that can't have been easy. Ellie was taking voracious pulls from a cigarette, a crimson smear staining her pale cheeks from where she had been crying. You know, the last time I spoke to Maeve, I basically told her to fuck off. The young La Sombra sniffed. If I'd stayed outside and instead of stomping back into the flat, I could have... Don't start playing the what-if game, Ellie. Sabini softly placed one hand on her shoulder whilst he spoke. Even with all our strength and powers, there will be some people who slip through our fingers. Being immortal doesn't mean that we can always protect everyone we care about. Elvira flung her cigarette to the ground in frustration, stomping on its remains with her chunky work boots. But that didn't mean we had to end things like we did, she sighed. I'd kill for an I'm glad I met you, or I'm happy to call you my friend. Instead, I called her a bloodthirsty fucking animal. Why were you fighting? Sterling asked. You guys seemed pretty happy when I called it a night. Sabini watched Ellie's form sag, like a plant withering without sunlight. I asked her why she made me kindred, and she said it was because of something that happened between my uncle and me. And you didn't like that? Sterling raised one eyebrow with curiosity. Ellie stood for a moment in utter silence before she finally spoke up. My Uncle Jordan, my mum's brother, was a vile piece of shit, she explained. He sucked people in, used them up and then threw them away, like they were utterly fucking disposable. My best friend, Naomi, thought he was so cool and charming. Jordan had a real talent for pulling in impressionable young girls. Sabini gritted his teeth. There were few things in life that he hated more than powerful men who mistreated vulnerable women. Jordan got her hooked on coke, Ellie continued. He took this sweet, kind-hearted angel, and he snatched her future away. He cut her off from her family and started pimping her out. One day, her flatmate came home from work and found her hanging from the ceiling fan. I don't even want to think about how young she was. The Nosferatu realised his hands had balled into fists. He sounds like a proper cunt, he snarled. I remember the funeral so vividly, Ellie pressed on. I remember how utterly broken her parents were. I used to play in their garden after school, and I'd eaten at their table more times than I could count. I remember seeing her funny dad and her loving mum reduced to hollow shells of people. Thanks to Uncle Jordan, they hadn't even spoken to Naomi in the months before she killed herself. Christ, was all that Sterling could manage. I just kept thinking I did this, Elvira told the Nosferatu. If it wasn't for me, Naomi never would have fallen under Jordan's repulsive fucking radar. If Naomi and I'd never become friends, she'd still be alive today. You can't put that responsibility on yourself, Ellie, Sterling insisted. You were kids, and he was a manipulative fucking monster. The last time I spoke to Naomi, I fucking begged her to move back in with her folks, Ellie continued. I poured everything I had into trying to convince her to leave Jordan, but all she did was ask me for money, and then accuse me of conspiring with her parents against her. I thought I was trying my best, but sometimes I wonder if I could have tried harder. You did everything you could, kid, Sabini said firmly. Take it from a veteran bloodsucker. Addiction is a real bitch. Jordan is the reason Naomi died. You aren't. That's what it felt like, though, Ellie said with a shrug. I was so overcome with guilt that I wanted to just fucking die. But then that guilt turned to hatred, and the hatred was pointing straight at Uncle Jordan. Sabini swallowed dry air, letting out an uneasy grunt. What did you do? The Nosferatu asked Ellie. I decided that before I died, I was going to make that piece of human garbage pay, she said with a faint snarl. I got him pissed, waited for him to pass out in bed, sprinkled a load of booze over his duvet, and then chucked a cigarette onto my uncle. The whole place went up, and I just sort of wandered out into the night. I wasn't worried about getting caught by the police, but I guess I just got lucky, because nobody ever traced it back to me. How many people have you told about this? Sterling let his fists slowly unclench whilst he spoke. Before you? Only Maeve, Ellie confessed. Even before I knew about vampires, I could always tell there was this darkness to her. I guess I felt certain that she would understand. Little did I know. I was auditioning to be her progeny. The world is better off without your uncle in it, kid, Sabini reassured the young La Sombra. I'm truly sorry about what happened to your friend, but you got justice for her. That is a testament to how much you love Naomi. I can't bring her back, though, Ellie murmured. And I can't bring back Maeve either. Sabini gave her shoulder a gentle rub, trying his best to soothe her agony. I killed the love of my life, Sterling told Elvira. When I had just been turned, I was completely consumed with hunger, and I just went feral. I flew into this blind mania, and I drank him dry. I woke up with the man I wanted to spend the rest of my life with, sprawled out in my arms, and his blood on my mouth. He had this look of sheer horror on his face. When I close my eyes, that's all I see. I think that is all I'll ever see. Unearthing such painful memories made Sabini's whole body go rigid with grief. He felt as if he had turned to unyielding stone, and his limbs were heavy, cumbersome rock. That wasn't you, Ellie assured him. That was the beast. None of us were prepared for what we have turned into. There's no guidebook to becoming a monster. Sure there is, Sabini teased. Haven't you ever read Twilight? Ellie let out a sweet musical laugh. This is the skin of a killer, Bella, she chuckled. I wouldn't mind looking like Robert Pattinson, Sabini joked. Sure beats looking like someone took a cheese grater to my face. For what it's worth, you're the nicest vampire I know, Sterling, Ellie said with a smile. A warm fog began to thrum around Sabini's heart, filling his chest with a soft yet palpable joy. Cheers, kid, he grinned. You're not so bad yourself. The pair stood for a while, listening to the gentle pitter-pattering of rain against Brighton's hard stone streets. What do you know about this Owens woman, then? Ellie asked eventually. She's a thin blood, so she isn't strictly part of the Camarilla, Sterling told her. But she took the brand, so her presence in Brighton is sort of tolerated. What's a thin blood? Ellie asked Nosferatu. Vampires whose blood is so weak that they aren't part of a distinct clan, Sabini explained. They aren't given the same respect as proper kindred, but they aren't humans or ghouls either. They sort of walk the line between life and undeath. Apparently some of them can even go out in the sun. Damn, Ellie grunted. Seems like a pretty sweet deal. It would be, if other kindred didn't absolutely loathe them, Sterling sighed. Elder vampires are incredibly wary of thin bloods, and the more superstitious of our kind view them as omens of the end of all days. Owens is just about permitted to stay here, because she has been a very useful ally to Ludovisi and the rest of the Brighton Camarilla. I've only ever dealt with her in passing, but I hear she's good at her job. Ellie ruminated on what Sabini had said, mulling it over in her mind. Why serve the Camarilla? She asked Nosferatu. There seem to be all oppressive rules and stuffy boardroom politics. Surely the Anarch's the better option. Did you ever work a dead-end job for a company you absolutely loathed? Sterling replied. I'm pretty sure that everybody who wasn't born into ludicrous wealth has. The fledgling laughed dryly. But you didn't run off and join a commune where nobody washes and white stoners strut around with dreadlocks. I suppose not, no, Ellie admitted. For me, that's unlife in the Camarilla, Sabini explained. It's a shitty job that you suffer through because the alternative is a barely functional pit of despair. I despise the Ivory Tower. I despise Prince Ludovisi. And I despise the chains that the Jihad binds us in. But I'm not going to throw my lot in with a gang of rebel thugs, no matter how nice I think their message is. The Camarilla is a viper's nest, but it offers structure and security. You don't think the Anarchs have a fighting chance? Ellie cried. I grew up amidst the dissolution of the British Empire, kid, the old vampire told the fledgling. I was so certain that a better future was on its way for the little guy. But what we got was lipstick on a pig. The 1%ers fuck us till we bleed, then we lick their boots clean. It's the way of the world. Undeath don't change that. Ellie let out a dismal sigh. Shall we go grab this vampire detective then? She asked. Sure, Sabini nodded. I think I know where we can find her.